Well, greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it is I, your Duke of Dope Discourse, your master of fun and wonder, your viceroy of verisimilitude, and as John Campea has frequently called me, your existential Mr. Rogers. That's right, Robert Meyer Burnett, and I'm here with a mailbag for Friday before Memorial Day. As you all know, if you watch the John Campea Show live, we open up Super Chats, but only enough that we'll be able to read them live on our show every day, Monday through Friday. But we all know that you have questions and comments and thoughts about us 24/7, 7 days a week. And you can send us a tip anytime, day or night, right down there. Go to the link right below here and send us whatever you want to send us. And if we deem it appropriate, we will share it, not only with ourselves, and I'll share it with Jonathan and Rayora, who are sitting right over there. You can't see them. Take my word for it. They're right there. And with the rest of you. That said, this is the John Campea mailbag. And let's jump right into it. 2 + 2 = 5. That's pretty much, that defines most of the United States right now. Hey, John, what do you think it will take for DC movies to have the same success as Marvel movies? Better directors, actors, scripts? Thanks. Well, look at a movie like Joker. It cost $65 million and it made over $1 billion. That is a huge profit margin. To put it in perspective, a movie like, say, Infinity War or Endgame, which made almost $3 billion, cost a heck of a lot more. So I think, a good movie, there's a lot of, I think you need, first of all, great characters and a great story. You need great people making the actual film. But I think, look, Marvel has had a plan from the beginning, not unlike the Cylons, and they have executed on that plan, sometimes very, very well, sometimes maybe not as fulfilling as you might want it, but they've had a plan. DC never really had a plan. I don't think they should have a plan. I think DC's strength is making individual movies, whether it's Matt Reeves' The Batman or Todd Phillips' Joker. I think that's the way to go for them. I think just because they're both superhero projects or superhero movies, superhero franchises, they're not the same. And Warner Brothers never had a plan. I think, hey, look, James Wan's Aquaman made $1 billion. So, it's not a shared cinematic universe over in the DC world, and maybe they should keep it that way. That's just me, though. Kayak 102. Hello there. Greetings from Poland. Well, hello. Are you a fan of the filmmaker Krzysztof Kieslowski? I'm a big fan. So on June 14th, Disney Plus will finally launch here, and I will be able to watch WandaVision. I watched only the 10-minute recap of the show before Doctor Strange 2, and the turn of Wanda felt rushed and not earned to me. Still, quite liked the movie. Also, I'm thinking about rewatching Star Wars movies and watching for the first time Obi-Wan, Mandalorian, and maybe Andor in chronological order. Do you sometimes rewatch franchises you like in chronological order? Are there any pros and cons of doing so? A couple of questions in there. Kayak, let me start by saying, I think you're going to have a blast watching all of these shows. I tend to watch franchises in order, with the exception of maybe the James Bond franchise, if I'm going to do a whole rewatch, although I've done that as well. I think one of the great things about watching franchises in order is you see how they develop. And now that we know how they were received by the public, it's always interesting to go back and see how movies began. We sometimes tend to forget. Like, I highly recommend going back and watching the first MCU movie, which is Iron Man. We watched that for Movie Club here on the channel. And what was interesting is you see how intimate that film was. It was really the story of one man coming to grips with his own conscience. The world was not at stake. Only his world was at stake, his personal world. And it's a fascinating character study. And indeed, it's still a great superhero movie. But if you watch Iron Man 1 and then you jump ahead and watch Infinity War and Endgame, it's hard to believe that that's the journey that began with Iron Man. But there you go. And as far as being able to see all these shows, congratulations that Poland is getting Disney Plus. I really like the service. I think it's great. And be sure and check out all the extras that they have for all the Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff, because they've really done a good job. There's more special features sometimes on movies like Endgame and Infinity War than there are even on the physical media releases, which of course makes me want to scoop my eyeballs out with a teaspoon. But I'm sure for you, since you're just getting Disney Plus, it'll be great. So there you go. Korg's mom's boyfriend. Think about that. That's got to be an interesting pairing. Hi, John and crew. Do you think the CW verse exists 2 years from now? The Flash should end next year, and Gotham Knights will likely get Zaslaved. Looks awful. And I'm not aware of other shows in the works. Superman and Lois and Stargirl don't count. They're more HBO. Well, probably not. I mean, I as you pointed out, there probably won't be any more CW Arrowverse. You never know, but I think all the creators, certainly Berlanti's had a great run with this whole shebang over there, doing all these superhero shows, whether it's Legends of Tomorrow or everything else, Flash, Arrow, Black Lightning, all that stuff. And I think he's had a pretty good run. You know, I think even he would tell you it's time for me to move on. I think the CW is going to be sold, so I don't even know if it'll be around for anybody to Zaslav anything that's on the platform. But we'll see. Jerome. Every time I see Jerome, Jesse. Yeah, Jerome. Yes, from Purple Rain. I know it's a deep cut, probably doesn't know what I'm talking about. But hey, Jerome, that's what I'm thinking about. Would you consider the Chronicles of Narnia movies faith-based movies because the writer of the books wrote them as allegories for his faith? That would be C.S. Lewis, and yes, I would. Also, movies like Man of Steel, Lord of the Rings, The Matrix, and others have faith allegories. Well, the difference is, Jerome, C.S. Lewis was a great Christian thinker. I was afforded the opportunity. I was actually in New Zealand for 14 months working on The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and did a lot of extensive research into C.S. Lewis. I've actually read his books, The Screwtape Letters, which is I highly recommend, and Mere Christianity, which he became a Christian, and you know, Aslan, I guess you could call Aslan the lion a allegory for Christ, but he was directly using his fantasy stories as faith allegories. He was drawing a direct line between his Christian faith and his storytelling. Whereas you can look at you know, Jerry Siegel and Joel Shuster, you could see them as creating Superman to be a savior myth, but they were Jewish, the sons of Jewish immigrants, I believe. They might have been Jewish immigrants themselves, but they were not. I think a superhero is by definition sort of messianic in a way, but I don't necessarily think those other stories are directly faith-based, whereas C.S. Lewis allowed his faith to guide his writing. And you know what? I am not a Christian myself, but I strongly recommend anyone who's interested to read Mere Christianity and also The Screwtape Letters. The Screwtape Letters is a very fun book about a demon writing letters home to figure out how can he corrupt the souls of a mortal, and or the soul of a mortal. And it's a hugely entertaining book, and it gives you a lot of food for thought, even if you are not part of that faith. He's an interesting thinker, and I highly recommend reading not only the Chronicles of Narnia. C.S. Lewis also wrote an incredible science fiction trilogy. Paralandra, Out of the Silent Planet, Paralandra, and That Hideous Strength. And if you're a sci-fi fan, really, really good books. They were hugely influential on me when I read them when I was a young man. So there you go. Jerome comes back and says, do you think TV shows should always have their endings planned out from the beginning? And is there some situations where shows that have it planned out should have changed plans? Example, should Lost have planned ahead? Well, Jerome, honestly, I really enjoyed Lost, and I think it's one of the great betrayals of an audience in the history of the medium. Because, look, when you have a show like Lost where everybody, I was deeply into the mythology, and when they don't really know where they're going, I think you're doing your audience a disservice. And I don't know why you would do that. But a lot of the time, these shows, remember, they have an interesting premise. I call them impossible premise shows, meaning like my beloved Manifest, which I think is gobbledygook, but I love it. I watch Manifest. Clearly, it has what I call, in my own mind, an impossible premise, a premise that makes no sense, and you can't solve it. It doesn't have, they didn't know, they came up with an interesting idea, traveling through time, and yet the people that traveled through time suddenly have visions about people they have to help, And it's ridiculous, and it would never, no matter what explanation they came up with, they could never make sense of it. But then people watch, like idiots like myself watch, and then we want to know, and we stick watching these shows, and they just get more and more and more and more ridiculous. You know, when you watch Lost, and for anyone who hasn't, it's a really intriguing show. Just know the ending is going to be incredibly frustrating. The thing that bothered me in Lost, I mean, you've got time travel. You've got smoke monsters. You've got cripples that can walk. I mean, none of it makes any sense. But the thing that used to bother me the most about Lost is no one ever sat down, like the characters never sat down and asked, like one never asked the other, dude, can you believe we've just traveled in time by 30 years? We survived a nuclear explosion. I mean, there's a giant golden butt plug at the bottom of this island. What does it mean? Nobody ever had these conversations. And I'm having conversations with my friends after every episode. Why aren't the people in the show asking themselves these same questions? Drives me crazy. So to answer your question, yes, I think a great TV show. Look, Breaking Bad, they didn't know exactly what they were going to do. Jesse Pinkman was supposed to die during the first season. And then they realized he gave such a great performance, let's not kill him. But they still knew what they were going to do. I mean, Breaking Bad is the story about a good man who becomes a bad man and the reasons for doing so, and they knew where it was going. They don't have to know exactly where it's going, but they should know kind of where it's going, because if you're going to ask an audience to invest in your work, you should know where you're going to take them. Because if not, you're just a dick. That's just my opinion. Jessica Quintel says, hey, John and crew, I love your show, and I watch every day after work to decompress. My question is, in April, The Color Purple started filming, and I want to hear your thoughts on the casting, and are you excited to go see it when it is released? Thanks, and bring on the filthy. Well, Jessica, what you're talking about, for those of you who don't know, is it's the musical version of The Color Purple. As many people know, The Color Purple is Steven Spielberg's, I believe, 1985 adaptation of Alice Walker's wonderful novel. And in that film, not John Williams, but the great Quincy Jones came and wrote the score. I love the score for The Color Purple. And there's a couple of musical numbers in there. Margaret Avery as Shug Avery, like Miss Seeley's Blues. Sister, I can't sing it, but it's a great song. Huge fan of that movie. So then it was adapted as a Broadway play, and I believe Oprah Winfrey was one of the producers of that version. And so now they've turned the stage play into a movie. I don't know who's in the film. I don't know who they've cast in the roles, but I can't wait to see it. I'm a huge fan of The Color Purple. I read the book after I saw the film. It's a wonderful novel. I highly recommend it. But I am stoked to see the musical version. I never saw the stage play, so I'm sure it's great, and can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see it. Capri Grant says, hey, John, so this question is about Paul Bettany. Do you think we'll see him back as Vision, or will Disney force Kevin to recast him after his implication in the Johnny Depp trial? After all, the MCU Vision can change his appearance. I don't know what that implication is, but I would say this. Paul Bettany, come on, he's another foundational member of the MCU. He played the voice of Jarvis, obviously that was inside the Iron Man armor, and I love his portrayal of Vision, and really, I think he's a hero to men around the world because he is, in fact, also in real life married to Jennifer Connelly. So how can you deny Paul Bettany anything at this point? Plus, they're making more great hot toys of him. There's the regular Vision. There's the white Vision. So I think Paul Bettany will be around it. And you know what? I mean, actors are actors. They're playing a part. I don't exactly, you know, how much should their private lives or whatever implications happen to somebody, how should that affect their work? Jury's still out on that for me. I don't really know about what was said, but I'm all for the Vision in the MCU. And I think he'll be back. Audio out my Audi, yo. Audio out my Audi, yo. Says, hey guys, so I just finished watching 13 Reasons Why seasons 1 and 2 and the first episode of 3. I still have 3 to 4 to watch. What a show. Wow, it's powerful and moving. With all that's happening right now in the world, I think everyone should watch it if they can. Your thoughts? I watched the first season of 13 Reasons Why, and I agree with you. I thought it was a powerful show. Obviously, it's very controversial because it does deal with bullying and teen suicide, and it was, I'm not going to lie, it was kind of a rough watch for me. And And you know what? I didn't watch the second season because it felt a little too far-fetched that it continued on, but so I can't speak to it, but I know people do love the second season. But it's a good show. And I think that mental health issues, we need to address these things more. Now, before I continue, we have a word from our sponsor.
Guys, we want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Mint Mobile. You know, the one with the delightful ads with good Canadian kid Ryan Reynolds. So look, after years of fine print contracts and getting ripped off by big wireless providers, if we've learned anything, it's that there's always a catch. So when I first heard that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless starting at just $15 a month, I thought, what's the catch? But after talking to them and using their service, it all made sense. There isn't a catch. And guys, that's no joke, because for years I've been using one of the major providers and it was fine. But I switched over to Mint Mobile a little while ago. The service has been fantastic. And the big difference is I'm now paying about 1/3 of what I was paying before. And the best part for anybody who just hates their phone bills is that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. All of their plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with all your existing contacts. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea.
And a special thanks to our friends at Mint Mobile for making this show possible. Crop dusting for fun. To be honest, I've always wanted to do that. I mean, maybe ever since I saw Independence Day, I wanted to be, like Randy Quaid and crop dust. Not the wrong field like he did in that movie, but I'd like to do it once. Crop Dusting for Fun says, hey, John, and if this is Rob, can you please ask John this? I would, but John is not here, I don't think, right now. Or he's sleeping or slacking off or something. Because if he even heard me, he'd come out and say, hey, don't say I'm slacking off. So, John, I will ask John this, but I'll try and answer it myself right now. I've been really, really, really wanting to be a member on the channel. But there is no join button anywhere. Not on my iPhone, not on my computer, and I've been subscribed for a long time. Help. Well, you know something? John might not be here, but there is somebody here that might be able to help. Maybe. You know him. You love him.
Maybe.
He's the great Ray Ora.
Okay.
Ray, what's up with the membership there, buddy?
All right. It seems that everyone is having problems with the membership, are on the iOS, on Apple. All I know right now is if you don't see the join button on your mobile, try the desktop, anybody's desktop. You only need to get on it for a second. I mean, I hate to say it, but if you can you have to go to like a Kinko's or to rent a computer for 50 cents just for 1 minute to get on, and usually the desktop would work. But the last solution I have for now, because I'm still working with YouTube to actually get like a fail-safe solution, is we are providing a direct link to the membership. It's whatever you go to when you click the button to join. So if that doesn't pop up, then it's gonna be one of those issues where we're gonna have to work it out on an individual basis.
I have to say, as you've been talking, thank you for that eloquent response, Ray. I myself logged out of YouTube and went right to the John Campea page, and not only is there a join button, there's a blue pop-up thing that says membership, and it's pointing right to the join button. The join button is right next to the subscribe button to the left. So try that. And by the way, we do appreciate you supporting the channel in that way. Memberships are fun. By the way, if you are a member, you can get an emoji of me. So I know that's one that Ray Ora made. And if you want to get somebody else who's on the channel, you can get one of them too. JR says, you always say no movie should 100% require you to watch previous installments to understand. I completely agree. But for entertainment purposes, do you ever watch films in prep for a new one? Like, I plan to watch all 5 Jurassic Park movies in prep for Jurassic World Domination. Well, I mean, look, obviously, every movie should be its own experience, but if you're watching a movie with a 2 in the title, I think it's probably a good bet to watch the original. I mean, it gives you context. It shows where the characters have come from. And you know what? Say you watched Fast 9 and that was your first Fast and Furious movie. I'd be upset. I'd be upset that you hadn't watched Tokyo Drift, that you hadn't seen Fast 5. You know, come on. I'm not saying you have to watch all 10 of the Fast and Furious movies, but it's always kind of fun to prep for other movies. I would not suggest you watch The Godfather Part 2 before watching Godfather. I think it works out better. But you shouldn't have to. I mean, it should still be self-explanatory. But I do think context is always a good thing. And I like it when movies are coming out. You can have fun prepping. You can watch with your significant other, and you sit down and you watch however many movies are in. You know, if there's another James Bond movie, you're going to have to watch 25 actual Bond movies, then Casino Royale, the 67 version, then Never Say Never Again from 83. There's a lot of prep to do there, but you don't have to do that. But, you know, it's fun. It's fun. I do like to prep. I do. CJ says, hey, John and crew. Dragon Ball Super Broly made $116 million worldwide in 2019. So you would think the new film called Dragon Ball Super Superhero would get as much marketing and advertising, but there has been barely any. What are your thoughts on this? Thanks. Well, you know, maybe they think that the Dragon Ball franchise will market itself. I think that's kind of silly, but in this day and age, it depends on how many theaters they're going to open in and what they think it's going to do. They already have projections. And when you're putting movies in theaters, it costs money. I mean, it costs a distributor money to put a movie in theaters. So maybe they just think they're going to throw it out. Contractually, they just put it out in theaters because they have to. Maybe they think they're not going to make as much money as Super Broly did. I don't know. But if something is being released with no advertising behind it, like they're not doing direct advertising to the anime community, I don't know. I don't know enough about it, but it probably isn't the greatest thing in the world. So maybe the movie isn't so good. Not that I want to dash your hopes, but I don't know. I just don't know. Scott Brown says, God of War being officially announced to me. There's only one person that can play Kratos, and that's Djimon Hounsou. He's perfect. The voice, the look, the age range, and the acting ability. With Horizon, it has to be animated, budget-wise. How do you do it live action? That's a good question. I mean, look, I love Djimon Hounsou. I've loved Djimon Hounsou, 22 years ago when he was in Gladiator. I'm a huge fan of his. And Kratos, I mean, the only thing about Djimon Hounsou is obviously he's built, but he's kind of thin. I mean, comparatively speaking. I always saw Kratos as looking more like Chris Hemsworth in the trailer for Love and Thunder, man. I mean, I was thinking of Kratos as a much bigger dude. But Djimon Hounsou obviously can move well, and he can kick some real ass. So I don't think that's a bad suggestion. And Horizon, I haven't played it, so I don't know. I can't speak to whether it should be animated or whatever. I just like the fact that PlayStation is branching out and developing these video game movies because obviously they have a vet. When the studio is the actual IP holder, in terms of like they don't want to damage their game franchises, so it's in their best interest to make sure the movies are as the best they can be. And that's heartening because who wouldn't want to see a kick-ass God of War movie? Come on. That'd be awesome. Jason sends in a tip, one of 2. Hi, John and crew. I hope you have a great weekend. I was wondering if any movie holds a special meaning or place for you. For example, during a bad breakup, I used to watch Jim Carrey in Liar, Liar a lot. Then, when my wife was diagnosed and treating for cancer in remission, I watched Guardians of the Galaxy as an escape. Is there any movies like that for you? Thanks. Well, Jason, I have to tell you, back when Inception came out, Christopher Nolan's Inception, I had gone through a breakup. I'd broken up with a girl that I was crazy about, even though our relationship probably wasn't the best thing for either one of us, but I was crazy about her. And I went and saw Inception 8 times in the theater. I saw it at the ArcLight. And because really, if you look at what Inception's about, it's Leonardo DiCaprio is really trying to get over the death of his wife in that movie. So it really spoke to me. And one of those times, I think it was like the 6th time, the girl that I had broken up with was there with the new guy that she was dating at the bar, at the ArcLight. And I turned and looked at him. I'm like, talk about adding insult to injury. Man, that was hardcore. But then I went and saw, yeah, it's not, look at Ray out there laughing at my misfortune. I'm sharing with you.
The luck, bro.
I am sharing with you guys. This is a true story. And what was that, 13 years ago? I got over it. Ugh. But sort of. But I do think that it's tough, you know, and I've had movies like comfort films. The Star Trek and Star Wars movies were my comfort movies. But at the time, I just really identified with Inception, and then I had it rubbed in my face, which sucked. But what are you going to do? Jakob, it's either Olbert or Olbert, one of three. Hi, John. I've been looking forward to this day, May 27th, when Obi-Wan and Stranger Things 4 come out. Unfortunately, this day eventually became the worst because my dad lost his battle with cancer today. It's funny because he was the one who introduced me to the world of Star Wars with Episode 1. So at least now I have two series to help me with my grief. And when I'll watch Obi-Wan, I will think of him. But on a positive note, I must thank you too, John, for the daily entertainment that you provide for all of us with Rob, Chris, Ray, Aaron, and Jonathan. So thank you for that, and I hope your mom fully recovers, because there are only three things important in the world: health, family, and the time we spend with our loved ones. Well, Jakob, I hope I got that right, or Jacob. First of all, my condolences. I think all of us will offer condolences to you and your family at this difficult time. But, you know, I have to say that when my father passed away, my dad would take me to certain movies, and it was always kind of fun. He read a lot, so he would come in and watch whatever TV show I was watching. He'd figure out the plot in like 5 minutes and leave. But there were certain times when my dad, because I used to have to con him into driving me to movies, and my mom and my dad would say, well, because I was a movie fanatic, we'll drive you one way if you can find a friend to pick you guys up. That was their rule. And there was one time when my dad, you know, he usually didn't go with us, but one time, a long time ago, and if I'll tell you the name of the movie, and you can date me. That's how freaking old I am. But so we go to a movie, and there's like 5 of us. My dad's taking us, and I forget whose parent was supposed to go home or pick us up, take us home. And my dad hears the name of this movie, and he says, well, boys, what is this movie about? And we told him, and I told him the ad line of the movie, and he stopped, and he's like, well, that sounds really good. Would you mind if I came and saw it with you? And we're just looking around like, no, you know, my dad's name was Richard, or as my friends like to call him, Dick Burnett, which was, they amused themselves all the time. My dad thought it was hilarious too. It grated on me. The movie was John Carpenter's Escape from New York. And my dad asked, what is this about? And I told him, I said, well, Dad, it's 1997 and New York City is a walled maximum security prison, because this is what it said on the poster. And the tagline was, breaking out is impossible. Breaking in is insane. And my dad came and saw it with us. And it was one of my favorite memories of seeing a movie with my dad, because he, you know, I didn't have to like beg him to do so. It was his idea because he heard the title, and we went in, and he was giddy like we were when the movie was over. My dad was a little older when he had me, so he was an older dad. And to see my dad get excited about something was pretty cool. And afterwards, he had the best time. And I remember him asking if he could ever do that again with all of us, like the crew, and come see a movie with us. And we were like, of course you can. I was like, come on, Dad. Especially because he would buy the popcorn and sodas, which was always a bonus. But so to have a father that you were able to spend time with and share these things with, I mean, The Phantom Menace came out 23 years ago. So I'm so happy that you and your father had that time to watch things together, because, you know, when you watch movies together and TV shows or books or whatever, you then have that shared mythology that you and your father can talk about. And I'm glad that you got to have that with your father. and for the time that he had left here, that you were able to spend time with him. And our condolences go out to you and your family, and I'm very sorry for your loss. Trayvon says, hello, crew. With the major move Zaslav has done, do you believe he will cancel DC Fandom and do DC events at Comic-Con, or continue DC Fandom but in person? That's a good question, Trayvon, and to be honest, I have no clue. I don't know. I think it would always be a money issue, but the first DC Fandom was really neat, and I think, you know, obviously for a studio to go to Comic-Con and do a presentation, it is not cheap. It's not a cheap proposition. So I think he's going to have to like look at the cost-benefit analysis. But here's the thing. You know, when Warner Brothers does a big presentation and they bring out all their actors and they do, which can get expensive because they have to pay for all the actors to come down and put them up and give them what they are contractually obligated to get to promote the movie. So it can be very, very expensive to do it. But I also think that they get so much buzz about their projects that it's always a good thing to see people come down at Comic-Con. And when the big studios don't show up, it becomes an article in Deadline, and the whole industry knows that, well, Warner Brothers isn't coming to Comic-Con again, which is never a good thing. But I think Zaslav would want to come to Comic-Con. Maybe even he'll come down himself, maybe. But I don't know the answer. But I'd be interested to see. Galen Merrick says, hey, guys, first-time tipper. Well, I hope your first time is good for you. I was surprised to see that they changed the release time last night for Kenobi. I hope they keep it to this time because I live in Eastern time and shows normally get released at 2 a.m. Way too late for me. What do you guys think? Well, I think this week might have been an anomaly only because it was Star Wars Celebration, and they probably wanted to get a jump on the fact that they didn't want a bunch of people to spoil everything, that the diehard fans could see it right away. Also, as John pointed out on today's John Campea show, I'm sure they wanted to take a little of that sweet, sweet viewership away from Stranger Things 4. Not that there's any competition there. But I think you're probably going to have to suffer through the normal time. I think that it's 12 o'clock on the West Coast, unfortunately. But, hey, you never know. I've been wrong before, frequently. My girlfriend will tell you I'm never right. But, you know, I leave that up to the viewership to decide. We'll see. I would imagine it's going to go back to midnight. I would guess. Joshua Martinez says, when will you be watching Stranger Things? I still can't find the motivation to start it. Well, I probably want to. I'd love to start dipping into it this weekend. I like Stranger Things. Stranger Things, the first season was terrific. Stranger Things 2 was not as good as I would have hoped. And I liked Stranger Things 3 quite a bit. And this season looks really epic, and I want to see where they're going to go with it. So it's also very expensive, good production values, great effects. I like the characters. So I would imagine I'm probably going to watch at least a couple of episodes either tonight or tomorrow. But I can understand with everyone's making a big deal about how long it is. It's like a major commitment. You know, I think there's, 7 episodes now or something, and 7 and 7, or maybe it's 4 and 4. I'm not sure, but I mean, hours and hours and hours. So it's tough, but I'm looking forward to it. Report back and tell us what you think after you've checked it out. Tell us if you think it's worth our time. Other Rob, no, the other one sends in a tip and says, hey, crew, first time, long time. What I love about Kenobi is that, like all good Star Wars stories, it rhymes. Without giving it away, the final scene in episode 2 was almost a mirror image of Return of the Jedi. Well, you know, for those of you who have seen any of the behind the scenes, I think it was in the beginning, a documentary about the making of Phantom Menace where George Lucas talks about the poetry of it all and doing exactly what you just said, that things rhyme, that he wants to recall images from one film into another film, and that the whole family saga is sort of like poetry. So you're absolutely right there. And I think I can't say anything until we do our spoiler discussion, but I don't think you're wrong by the astute observation you made about the end of episode 2. We shall see where it all goes. I don't know, but I agree with you. And guess what? You know what I also agree with? The fact that it's Friday and this is the last episode of Mailbag for this week It is Friday, isn't it? It is Friday. And I, half the week I was still COVIDized, and now I'm not. Now I'm back. And I want to thank all of you for generously supporting this channel. You guys, you viewers, are what make the John Campea Show go round. And of course, I know I speak for Jonathan, Ray, and myself. I mean, come on. You guys make sure that we have food on the table and that Ray is able to hang a moon behind him, which is pretty cool. So I want to thank you for that. And remember, if you do want to send us tips, just go to the link right down there. 24/7, our operators are always standing by. Actually, there's no operators. You can't call anybody. But you can send us. You can send us tips. And if we deem them appropriate, we will read them. I might read them. John, of course, will read some. Maybe we'll do it together. Or maybe one day, Ray and Jonathan will do a tag team. They'll be like Lethal Weapon. And they will do the mailbags. You never know, Ray. Come on. Don't put yourself down. Come on, dude. It could happen. And on that note, I am Robert Meyer Burnett. You can find me on social media. If you want to do something John Campea can't do, you can follow me on Instagram at RM Burnett, because John certainly won't do it. I don't know why. I think my Instagram game is pretty top tier. But if you follow me, you tell me if I'm right or wrong. Or you can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM. Find me on my own YouTube channel, Post Geek Singularity, or my cool Post Geek Singularity website. Go to postgeeksingularity.com. We have daily content there, and you can interact with idiots like myself whenever you want. Actually, you can't, really, because I'm not there live. But the website's cool. Other than that, thank you for your generous support of this channel. We look forward to seeing you next week. I mean, this summer, man, this weekend, you got new Star Trek. You've got new Stranger Things. You've got Obi-Wan Kenobi. You've got Top Gun Maverick in theaters. And I would be remiss if I did not mention Bob's Burgers, the movie for Ray Ora. Ray, are you going to go see Bob's Burgers?
Sunday. Early
Sunday.
Yep.
Well, there you go. Thanks very much, everybody.